You know his face and that famous picture of a very dark day. Nearly 1 year after the bombings, Jeff Bauman says his recovery is a work in progress. And he sat down with Bill O'Reilly and spoke about whether or not he'll attend Jahar Tsarnaev's trial. Interesting answer. Listen.
How long did it take you psychologically to accept the fact that you were grievously wounded?
Sometimes I don't fully accept it.
Still today?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, you know. I miss doing old things. I miss shooting hoops with my friends. I miss being able to jump out of my house and jump in a car and drive. I miss that stuff every day.
But you look good to me. Your eyes are clear. You're articulate. You've got a good book that I think will help people. I want people to check it out. Strong. But you're saying that you still haven't accepted it.
Well, yeah, I haven't accepted it yet. But you know, there was things 6 months ago that I didn't accept, and you know, now
it's getting better.
I don't even think of them. Yeah.
You gonna go to this thug's trial? This Joe Carr? You going?
Yeah. I've never been to a trial before. I want to see what it's all
about. You want him
about.
to get the death penalty?
I'm not. You know, as long as he's not allowed to be out and.
He'll never get out.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever happens to him. You know, it's out of my hands and the law.
Well, Jeff, we admire you.
More on that interview at 6 o'clock. Bauman was treated at Boston Medical Center, one of the many hospitals that took in seriously injured patients that day. Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center also treating many of the injured. When the marathon bombings happened, doctors really literally had minutes to react to one of the biggest emergencies they would ever have to deal with. Joining us now is Dr. Alok Gupta. He is a trauma surgeon at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and he treated many of these victims in their darkest hours. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. I truly appreciate it. Let's go back to that dark day. And I was just saying before the commercial, you had a 3-month-old baby at home. You had just done rounds at the hospital. She's taking a nap, and all of a sudden your phone goes off. Go from there.
My phone went off. The cell phone reception was pretty choppy. All I remember hearing was something about bombs and something about we need you in the hospital.
And you lived right near the finish line. You lived right there.
And I remember thinking that the sirens that usually dissipate as they go by in the city weren't dissipating. So I was out of the house in less than a minute and at the hospital in less than 5. And I was there just as the first victims were being brought to our hospital.
And I know it's your job, and I know you're a trauma surgeon, and I know you've seen very difficult things. This, I'm sure, was one of your most difficult days.
There's no doubt it was a tough day. It was a tough day for the city, for all the hospitals, but especially for the victims. They came in doubled and tripled up in ambulances. Many of them were coming in by private car, by police vehicles.
Wow. And tell me what you were doing as a surgeon in that situation.
So I think the main thing that we do in a situation like that, when we have just a few minutes to react, is to pull from all the disaster drills and the simulation exercise that we've done to prepare for such a day.
And at that point, do you want information about what happened and what caused this? Or are you just saying, okay, I've got to get in there and I've got to treat now?
We want information. We often don't get it for a situation like that, mostly because it doesn't exist. So our goal is to prepare for the worst case scenario.
Did you get the information? Did you know that they were bombs? I mean, did you have more details than normal?
We had some intel about 4 minutes after the blast as a hospital that we were going to be getting victims. Our first patient arrived about 6-7 minutes after that.
Wow, unbelievable. And how did that affect you as a doctor and as a new dad?
I think both questions are tough. I think as a doctor, I think that you robotically go through what you do every day.
Great answer.
And you sort of just end up in this mentality of, I know what I need to do. I have to look at these patients, identify what is the greatest threat to life, and put the resources in play to treat those things first.
So that's your job as a doctor. And now you tell me as a new dad, what went through your mind?
I distinctly remember 2 things. I remember thinking, probably long after I should have, that I've just left my baby closer to the finish line where all this was going than even I am now.
Wow.
And the second thought that went through my mind was, in a city with 5 level 1 adult trauma centers, as families themselves were split, I could only imagine how difficult it would be to be a patient whose brother or son or uncle was at a different medical center.
Unbelievable. All right, so that happens and you're treating and you're doing your job. You tell me why you're running the marathon, because you said, I am not a runner at all, but you're doing this. Tell us why.
I'm not a runner. Prior to December, the longest I had ever run was maybe about 3 miles, and even that might have been 2 decades ago. I think the main reason to run the marathon for me is because I felt really connected to the patients, and to honor what they have been through in terms of the pain, the physical therapy, the rehabilitation. I figure that if they can endure all of that, then what I'm trying to do should just be a piece of cake.
I think that's beautiful, because I think that we do look at maybe some people is that you're just doing your job and you do your job and then you go on to the next day and then you do your job that day and then you go on to the next day. But this had such an impact on you that you said, you know what, I won't forget this, and I'm going to honor this and honor their strength and honor their loss by getting out there and training for one of the hardest marathons really in the world. I said to him, this is such a hard marathon. He said, oh, thanks a lot. I mean, it is. It's tough. But I think it's beautiful while you're doing it. I really do. So you think about the people you treated. You still think about that.
I'm in touch with a lot of them, to be quite honest.
You really are. Mm-hmm. And what do you say? I mean, I know because under the medical laws, we can't say who you were treating. But,
of course.
But what do you say to them?
I think a lot of it is about their recovery, about their optimism, about their strength as they've gone through this process. Many of them have just been through months and months and months of physical therapy and rehabilitation. Mm-hmm. I've recently seen, both in person and some videos of some of our victims from last year that we treated who are now up and walking.
And how does that make you feel?
It's just so rewarding.
Isn't it? Because you saw them really at their worst by no fault of their own, at the hands of some so-called monsters. And now when you see that, you just must think, wow, okay. Things are good. We're getting there.
It's pretty amazing to see that transition from those devastating injuries on Marathon Monday last year to the amazing outcomes that most of our patients have had up to this point.
So when you run the 26.2, I know that they'll be all around you in spirit. Don't you feel that way?
And some of them in person, I believe, as well.
Well, look at that. That's wonderful. And we'll be following you. I'm going to spell your name for everybody because we can type your name into the computer and find out how you're going to be doing. I said to him, how long do you think you're going to take to run this marathon? What did you say?
Sometime on Monday, I hope to finish.
Sometime on Monday, I hope to finish. Dr. Alok, A-L-O-K, Gupta, G-U-P-T-A. He's a trauma surgeon at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. We'll be watching. You're going to be great. It doesn't matter when you finish. It's the journey and why you're doing it. Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate you coming in. You did an excellent job. Thank you so much. Mike, to you.